Great. So looks like we have a full house today. We've got 13 folks on the call. I'd like to thank you all for joining. We've got some great things in store for you today. And so just to kick this off, let me do some quick introduction. First, my name is Rob Nugent. I am the Director of Product Marketing at Skuid. And so just a little bit about me, a former Marine, a technology sales guy that stumbled into marketing. And so I've been doing this for a while, working with customers, telling technology stories for about the last 8 years. And so I joined Skuid about a month ago, and today is actually my anniversary. So I'm kicking off this seminar, this webinar with you, as going forward, we will do more of these, and so you will actually see more of me. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys as well. So today I am joined by two other members of the Skuid squad. Don, who is our solution architect, which is going to walk you through some of the use cases and some of the projects that he's been working on with our customers. Give us a wave, Don.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm Don.
And once Don has kind of walked us through those use cases, he's going to show us some really cool stuff in the demo. Sean, our VP of Marketing, will bookend today's session with a Q&A and a final remark. So give us all away, Sean.
Hey everybody, don't be shy in using that Q&A button inside the window so that we can have a great list of questions towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go through this, Sean will be monitoring and looking at some of the questions coming in. So please don't be shy. So before we get started, let me kind of tell you what today's call is about. And we're really tackling not an unusual problem, but it's a problem itself with spreadsheets. And while spreadsheets have some limitations, there's some huge downsides to them. And some of the downsides would be they're prone to errors, they're not collaborative, and really spreadsheets do not tie back to the system of records. And while there are many options to create apps, these options are expensive, they're time consuming, they require skilled developers. And what we get from that is, almost none of these options are scalable. And so Skuid is a better way for us to ditch the spreadsheet. And so what we will find and what we're going to learn from Don today is Skuid is the leading toolkit for accelerating custom apps within Salesforce ecosystem for design, development, and adoption. Customers actually have loved what we've been doing, and Don is going to share some great examples of what we've been doing with our customers to help them quickly, easily create custom apps that fit their workflow. And so without any further thoughts on that from me, let me turn it over to Don, and Don is going to show you how customers have been really accelerating the Salesforce-based digital transformation. Don, how do you feel? Are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Hi, everyone. Good enough isn't good enough anymore. Again, I'm Don Souza. I'm a solutions architect at Skuid. I've been here about 5 years. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, getting a little better air today, fingers crossed. My hobbies are mountain biking, Cajun cooking, vinyl record collecting, getting a lot of that done, being sheltered in place. And I'll date myself by saying the first sheet I ever used was VisiCalc on DOS. When I saw that, I thought, wow, this is great. I've been using them in some form or another ever since. And when I came to Skuid, I transformed my sheets to a CRM backend displayed in Skuid. So I was really happy to find a company that had the perfect toolkit on Salesforce to do that. So what I'm going to talk about today is the pain and the gain, and there's been a lot of both. And I'm going to talk about two of my favorite enterprise use cases, what their pain was, what their gain is, how they went from Sheets to Skuid and CRM, and all that great goodness. Okay, first, let me talk about the pain my customers were experiencing. The first was siloed data. As we know, Sheets are flat files. They reside in their own space. Yes, they can be, Google Sheets can be in their cloud, and there can be some type of collaboration, but its paradigm is primarily to be data that resides just in that file. I know I've been guilty of that many times myself. When I know I should be putting it up on a server, it just feels very comfortable, and the latest greatest version resides on my laptop. That's might be good for me, but that's bad for the enterprise. The second pain point is redundant content. As an example of that, one of my customers, large global distribution logistics operations company, their main piece of business could be, say, a big piece of commercial real estate. The address, name, rank, and serial number type information is the same. Users needed to put that in their sheet, usually on the left side, so they had context on their data, but all their multiples of sheets had that redundant content. That's just not good form. Data that doesn't scale. Again, when it's flat, it's sitting in a file. It doesn't grow. You can't interact with its related content. It's just horizontal, doesn't scale, not conducive to reporting as well. It's a big one. Basic filtering and sorting. I put this one in here. This is a user pain that my customers experienced, is when they wanted to filter and sort on their sheet. They click a column, and then invariably a dialog box comes up saying, do I want to include this column and that column? And usually they click yes, but it really didn't produce confidence that all the rows were filtering and sorting on the information that they wanted. So they'd have to recheck, and it's just friction on it. So it's just very, very not fun. Lastly, this last pain point, a bland user interface. Sheets have what I call generally like a 1990s menu-driven, many menu-driven type of interface, and lots of it. It puts everything in the kitchen sink, and you have to figure out which call to action do I need and where is it. And it's sort of a one-size-fits-all, and it's not really a custom interface to what that use case is. So plenty of pain all around. Okay, what you're looking at here is an example of a sheet that I received to what I call Skuidify. And what I mean by Skuidify is to take what I call kind of boring, generic, same old looking content and make it into a cool, contemporary, custom user interface application. And so this content, as an example, came from a number of disparate legacy systems. Did not have modern APIs, wasn't conducive to collaboration, and my customer would have to cut and paste information from different systems into the sheet. Again, error-prone, slow, friction-producing process, and but still, from there, multiple both portfolio and project managers on the team would need to sort of move on from that. So the data might start from one system, but then it would proliferate, and it seemed like the more sheets that were copied and cloned from that, just the more error prone and the less confidence the company would have on that the most accurate and correct data is being reported up. Plus, in addition, it's really hard on the eyes, particularly my eyes, to look at sheets with like a 4 font. Okay, so now let's move on to the cool application I created. So UIG, see up here on the left, it's their brand. It's a generic brand for our own internalized company. But the data that you're seeing here is redacted and anonymized from a real customer. And so what I wanted to do with this application is 2 main objectives. The first main objective is present the content that was formerly in a sheet in a view that they were familiar with. And to do that, which is the bulk of the screen, is our Skuid table here. And there's a lot of great features that has, which I'm going to show in a few minutes farther on when I get into the live demo. The other thing I wanted to do is to present their content in their company's branded Chrome. So when they're consuming this application, they're completely in the UIG company. They're not in another company's sheet, or they're not in a third-party system. They're completely in their own world. And so, and I give them the types of features and calls to action that I know that they're going to need to do to get their work done on their project content, such as a search bar, some compact calls to action for save and refresh, sorting and filtering on the data, a feedback button that can go to support, as well as hopefully you can see my mugshot in the upper right there. So I can put the running user, the user who is logged into this system, so they feel like they're completely in their own world. They're in their own content, and I found that to be very conducive to them really getting their work done. Okay. So this next screen here is the next level of drill down content. So again, one of the pains I mentioned is having to look at a sheet that had a lot of AA to ZZ rows, but nevertheless, it's all important content that the portfolio and project managers needed to get their job done. So what I did is I put a Skuid sliding panel here on the left, and how that works is when the manager would click on one of the rows, a panel would pop up with additional contextual content that they needed to interact with. So what I wanted to do is to not have them look at a screen that's in 4 font, not have to do a lot of horizontal scrolling, but still present just-in-time data and content when they needed to interact on it. Again, this panel could be on the left, could be on the right. Skuid offers a number of different sort of visual styles to show that contextual content. And so I thought this was a very good way for my customers, again, to see the contextual content all in one contemporary user interface. Okay, this is the third level drill down, and I use the term drill down specifically because with the CRM content, I want to show a lot of the related data, a lot of the contextual data, and really make it come alive. So with Skuid, I can display multiple CRM objects and related data all in one interface. And the user doesn't need to know, as the architect, of course I know, so I can construct it. They just want to work with their data. And so again, this sort of redundant data, as I mentioned, is a pain, was in several parts of the sheet and repeated, but I can make it very singular and surface it in their application. So what you're looking at here is the project manager detail view. And the project manager is the one that's down in the weeds. The portfolio is more high-level line of business, looking at each one of those rows in the table that I displayed a moment ago. But the project manager is deep down in it. And so what I have here on the left are some tabs using our Skuid tab component. And when the user clicks on each one of those, the screen on the right will update with their related content. So rather than having to be in multiple sheets on a project and figuring out which workbook tab and which column has their attributes, I'm able to present it here in one screen. So they can live, eat, and breathe all their work from one interface. And another thing I want to mention about how these screens are constructed is when the pandemic first hit, seems like years ago, but it's only about 8 or 9 months, some of my customers couldn't go back to the office. They were literally at home on the weekends, and they got an email saying you can't come in Monday. They only had their laptops, not their multiple screen setups. And so I did a number of Zoom meetings with them, showing them my work, and said, well, I'm on a laptop. You need to tighten it up. And so if this were on a laptop view, which maybe some of you might be seeing on, I tried to keep it very tight. And so Skuid has called a responsive grid component, which is able to respond to the form factor, tablet, laptop, or large screen. So again, try to optimize the screen real estate for my customers. Okay, this next view I do for a specific reason is because it's a pop-up on one of the columns. And so as we know, the sheet had many columns. My goal was to bring that down, shrink that in. And how I'm able to do that is I use a Skuid pop-up, which can show, again, related content on a particular field. So in this example, it was multiple dates. So instead of needing 3 or 4 columns for dates and risk, I'm able to bring it up in a pop-up. The most valuable, the most important to the business date would get written back to the table. And I'll show that again later on in the demo, but it's another example of whether it's a pop-up or a panel or a tab set, different types of views to show the contextual data from a CRM system. Okay, let's move on to another one of my favorite use cases. This is my customer CBRE, and what they're global real estate and investment, commercial property management organization, great company. And what I did for them is property management portfolio dashboard. And again, we're seeing views here that are branded to the company, their colors, their logos, contemporary application, another view of a table that was formerly a sheet with our filters buttons here, which I'll show in the demo, and some calls to action. And they were a great company to work for, and it was a very smooth process moving them from sheets to CRM. Okay, this next screen I wanted to show is to highlight the charts here, the region charts we have in the middle. And so, because I've been showing a number of Skuid tables, so that's the primary visual way that I present formerly sheet data. But in Skuid, I can also show them in these charts here. And these charts are, again, it's the same data that's in the table, but it's visually displaying in the values. Again, whether this is by region, so APAC, EMEA, USA, and both the content is interactive. So if I were to interact with the chart, it would update in the table, and vice versa. So again, this is that sort of scalable data that really wasn't possible in a sheet, but I'm able to do that in Skuid. And I also wanted to highlight on the screens, including to the brand that we have, I can show KPIs, charts and graphs, table view, again, very familiar for those who've used sheets, and all from the same data, all in one view, all real time, all interactive. Okay. All right, so this is my summary slide, and I called it related content for a specific reason, because I think one of the biggest benefits that I was able to provide to my customers is show them the related content to their business. So they were very familiar with sheets, where they saw one row and that was everything that had to do with that piece of business. But with Skuid from a CRM, I can surface all the related content to them. And when I first expressed that to them, I thought, oh, more content? Man, my sheets are already too big. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. And I said, nope, I'm going to give you, more context, but less clutter in that. And so what I wanted to show in this slide is the different, types of views, primarily in a table, and pop-ups and panels and charts and graphs and KPI. So the toolkit within Skuid has a wide variety of different ways to present the data to the user, depending upon their style and their requirements. Okay, so let me summarize here in the gain. What did my customers gain by what I was able to provide for them? The first is what I call adopting a new comfort zone. One of the challenges I had was getting my customers to move away from what I call their security blanket in spreadsheets. Again, I was guilty of that myself, very familiar, used them for years. It's just something that I can do on autopilot. And that, while it had many pain points discussed earlier, it was a certain type of comfort zone. So now I wanted to help them move to a new comfort zone, give them confidence that all their data is, while it's in a new system, it's the same data. Get very comfortable with them using a new type of application. So I was with them from beginning to end to roll out and support, helping them with a new comfort zone. The other gain was backup and security. So we're all remote. I know I work with IT. They want to make sure everything gets up to the server. When people were working in sheets and they were flat, again, they could have a post-it note and be sure to copy up at the end of the day, but not comfortable to IT and InfoSec. But when everything's in a CRM that has redundancy, it's backup, it's secure, IT management, everybody's happy on that. The next gain is aggregation and metrics. So what I showed in some of those screens, the KPIs, the charts, which I'll again further show in a live demo in a few minutes. Now we can aggregate our data up to management. And as one of my favorite people, management guru Peter Drucker, said, what gets measured gets managed. So we're going to measure our CRM. We're going to manage it. We're going to act and iterate. And Skuid from a CRM is a very, very straightforward way to do that. Efficient collaboration. So before, collaboration was let's meet and project, and I'll show you my sheet and you show me my sheets, and send me this column or copy and paste over here. Inefficient collaboration. But now we have efficient collaboration, all from one data source of record. Everybody collaborates on the same data when they interact in real time, and it saves the multiple objects to the database. Others can see that immediately. So all the team members firing on the same cylinders from the same data source. I think one of the biggest gains, and I saved this one for last, is visual display. And so again, remember the before, the sheet, and now we're going to display that same content visually, the customer's own brand, colors, the size of the buttons, can be large or small depending upon the user's desire. So now we have a very human-centered design is our Skuid philosophy to visually display the information that really makes it fun to interact with. All right, Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Don. As always, fantastic overview, fantastic stories you're telling. I also just like to remind everyone that Sean is standing by. Please add your questions to the chat. We're really looking forward to the Q&A session at the end of Don's demo. And so while Don is getting set up, there are a couple key points that I just want to highlight, it, especially from a business point of view. Productivity improvement, every organization tries to seek, and really being able to attain that is sometimes harder than it sounds. And so what Don has shown is there are measurable examples of which our customers have been able to achieve that. And especially with the example he shared of eliminating tabs. One of the other fantastic things that you gain by ditching the sheet and going with Skuid is, as I mentioned at the beginning, there is a sort of a gap with spreadsheets' ability to interact with the system of records. That's a problem that we will solve by ditching the spreadsheet. And so, and lastly, Don talked about being able to, and I love what you said, more context, less clutter. And that more context, less clutter phrase, I couldn't have said it any better. And by ditching your sheet, you actually flatten Salesforce's UI so that the user has more of the relevant content to their roles and to the task at hand. And so those are just some of my 3 takeaways that I just wanted to share. If you have others, would love to hear from you. Keep that chat coming. Keep sharing your feedback as far as the session goes in the chat, and we look forward to addressing your questions towards the end. Don, are you good to go with phase 2? Can't hear you, Don. If you can hear me.
That would help take myself off mute. Can you hear me now, Rob?
It always works, and if I can hear you, I think everyone else can. I'll let you kick it off with your demo.
Thank you very much. Okay, can everybody see my demo screen? Good, all right, great. I needed to switch screens. All right, good. So what you're looking at here is a live CRM application, an opportunity management dashboard, very similar to what I've created for my favorite customers. And this opportunity data used to reside in a sheet, but now it resides in Skuid in CRM. So let me go through some of the cool things we have going on here. So first on the left, we have some KPIs. So I am going to play the role of a sales executive, and I want to learn the health of my business, how it's doing, and interact on it and get my work done. So I'm learning my sales forecast, my customer revenue, new and existing and total. So I have some KPIs where I can just generally learn the health of the business. And then to the right of those, I have 2 charts and graphs, opportunities by quarter and stage, and revenue by type. Let's first look at the opportunities by quarter and stage. So we're in Q4, but I also see that I have some records here from previous quarters. And so let's go, well, what happened in Q2? Oh, there my closed one. So I'm gonna scroll up here a little bit here. Hopefully you can see that. There's a rollover that tells me the stage and the amount in it. Let me go back out. So if I wanted to learn, you know, the records that closed one, I could say, well, which accounts were they? I could learn the accounts. I could learn the close date. I could learn the owner. And so I could learn which records were closed one in that quarter. Okay, and now we're in Q4. So I see in different colors a number of other types of stages with records. So let me look here to my commit. And let me pop this screen up a little bit here, so hopefully everybody can see that. So again, now here's a live pop-up similar to what I showed before, and I'm seeing all my commit opportunities in Q4. And I'm learning, okay, well, this close date, this didn't really happen, but I know I've been speaking with Josh and he claims he's gonna get it done by the end of the week. So I changed that value. I know Christine is really booked, so I'm going to give it to my closer, Rob Hatch. So I'm making some edits, and I can commit them by save to the backend in real time. So there are, you know, some multiple objects going on here, opportunities, accounts, and contacts, which I'll show in the detail, all saving to the database at this CRM system at the same time. If I wanted to do a mass edit, I click the checkbox on the left, I do a mass update, and if I wanted to move the stages to another value, say I'm going to move them all, I've learned they all went to contract signed, I click apply, I click save, and that can happen as well. So I can be in a world of commit opportunities in Q4 and all from an interactive chart. Okay, so revenue by type. Let's look at a different style here. We have a donut instead of a chart and graph, and hopefully you can see what's in the middle here, which is the percentage, 69%, it's like 7 million and change of new business. So what I did for my customer here is put what the percentage, the amount, and the type of business, which is their largest revenue type. So I could say, well, that's great. I'm very happy with my new business, but what's going on with some of my other ones? Why are they less? Let's look at my pro serve, and I brings up all my pro serve opportunities. And I look at them here and I go, yeah, again, Josh is maybe one reason why they're a little slower is that Rob's really busy. I'm going to maybe assign one or more to Rob, and I can take action on my data from a visual view, all in real time. And if Rob was logged in, he would see that now he has a new opportunity record to deal with in his world here. Okay, so after I've learned the health of my business via some KPIs, some charts and graphs, I also may want to work in my table. And so again, this table view, very similar to what I've shown in some of my other screens. But since this is live, there's other things I can do with it here. So one is I see my opportunity name and my account, but maybe I want, right after my opportunity, I want to do my stage and then move my type over. And so hopefully everybody was able to see that. With Skuid, I'm able to reorder my columns, all interactive, all live. I put that feature in because, well, I mentioned my users, I'm trying to get them to go to a new, adopt a new comfort zone. I still want to give them some other features from their previous comfort zone. I want to make it a smooth transition. And so obviously they need to move their columns around. So I give them that, that opportunity here. And that movement is per user. So I'm Don Souza, the running user up here. If Rob were to log in and he wanted to order the columns in a particular way, that would be to his all in his view as well. So it's particularly specific to the user. Okay, so let's look at some contextual data, because I know I've been talking about that a lot. So over here we have, I put in a details button. So let's click on that on this Kent property. Let me scroll up here a little bit and maybe bring up the screen a little bit. Hope everybody can see that. And so this is you know, a sliding panel pullout. Remember I said it can be from the bottom, from the side. In this case, I put it right below the record. And so for Kent property opportunity, I'm seeing the related account, products, contacts, and tasks. So again, this sort of scalable CRM contextual content, but all within the user's view. I can look at it here and make sure all my account information, if I need to make a call, I have all that information of products. So I'm learning what products are there. If I want to add one, let's put some more engaged training here. They called me and they want more of that. And I want that date on the 30th. And I want to quantity. I click save, and that goes right there. I learn who the contact is, whether they're primary or not in their role. I can click on that contact. It would go to that page, and I can also look at the tasks. I have one call that's closed, another one that's in progress, pending. That's going to happen on the 15th. So from this Skuid panel view, I'm able to see all the related content that was formerly in different sheets. Let me close that up here. Okay, another great feature I have here is, let me pull back out here so we see all our KPIs, is filters. So here's a pop-up panel on the right where I put my filters. Let's say I wanted to go, what's going on with my BDR team? I click that, and I see a couple of BDR records, and I could say, not a lot of BDR activity. Let me check some of my other stages, see what's going on there. Now I filter on discovery, and I go, okay, there's more going on there. Maybe we have a workflow gap between BDR and discovery. Let me talk to that manager. So again, I'm interacting, viewing my data, but the ultimate goal is to learn and take action on it. That's one of the great things that I love about Skuid. Also, I want to point out, I put in a little stage discovery over here. So I give the user feedback as to how their data is filtered. Let me close that out here. And the page redraws back to its original. And so another great feature I want to point out here on my table are my settings. So if I wanted to freeze a couple of columns on the left, which is, I know something that my customers did, get a couple, I can set that to 2 and say, I don't want to see sales territory zone. I'm a manager that's in the West. I always know what my territory is. That just gives me clutter. I click apply, and now there's a line designating which columns on the left are frozen, and my sales territory zone is gone. All right. Another feature I put in for my customers is the ability to create new records. Right? Formerly in Sheets, you just insert row and you type, or you would cut and paste and then add content in. But here I put in a button to create a new record, new content, new business, because that's what we're really doing here. So let's go through this really quickly here. Here again, this is a pop-up similar to what I showed from my favorite customers. And so let's pull it from existing account. This is one of my hot accounts, Mount Tam Group. And so now I'm on the account and I'm going to wizard through contextual content. So I mentioned that here as an architect, my end user, they don't know, they don't need to know, they just want to go from an account to an opportunity to line items and make some business. So we click next, Mount Tam Group, and let's call this property. I'm beyond discovery. I'm in the evaluation phase. Put this close date, later in October. I'm going to sign it. And these fields are completely customizable. Whatever fields are necessary and required to get their business done, I can surface in Skuid. This is make this a pro serve, and we don't need to fill out everything here. Just some of the name, rank, and serial number. I'm going to move on to next. My light items. So again, let's put some real products to the opportunity. Give me an Advantage Plus with 10 of those. Add some more product. Can add as many as we need. Let's do 20 of those. And when I click done, that saves it in real time. Again, multiple contextual content, all saved in real time. And here's my record showing up in my table. It added the values to the charts and graphs. You'll be able to see it with all the multitude that are there, but believe me, it's live. And it's a really, really great way for my customers to see a wide variety of different visual components, all interactive and live. And so one of the last things I want to show is how easy some of this is to do, right? Really, we want to move fast. So since I'm an administrator, I can modify the page. So I click on the edit page and brings up our Skuid declarative environment here. And here we see our visuals, revenue by type, opportunities by quarters and stage, and our charts. And down in my table here, let's say I want to learn what the created dates, when were these opportunities created? I want to maybe see some trends there. So I'll bring up a little box, created date, click apply, and I want to reorder my table. So I want created date right next to close date. Put that there. Maybe people can see that. Give you a little more size. Sales territory zone. It's too wordy. Too wordy. I just want. Let's keep it compact. Territory. So I can change that label. I click save. Let me go back to, make sure I get the right. Do a refresh. Here we are in Salesforce Lightning. And now there's my created date right next to my close date, and it's territory instead of territory. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to show, I promised I would, is one of the panes was sorting. But this is really good to sort. If I want to sort on my stage, there it is, B is before D, BDR discovery, and I know it was in the blink of an eye, but all the records sorted to that value. No more like having to add columns or unsure confidence. It all works auto magically. Great. That's my demo. Rob, you want to take it from there?
Absolutely. Okay. Hey, great demo again, Don. Appreciate your knowledge and what you shared. Great questions continues to be posted. And as I mentioned earlier, Sean is really going to take us home. So Sean, are you all set?
I am good to go. I believe I am. Thanks, Rob.
I can hear you loud and clear. It's all yours, Sean.
All right, fantastic. All right, well, y'all, we're gonna kick into the another fun section of all of this, which is Q&A. Thanks for the questions that have already come in so far. A quick thank you to Don for that very comprehensive both demo as well as overview of what we've been doing with, or what our customers have been using Skuid to do. A quick personal note, Rob, I'm so thankful that you're here. Nice job on kicking this off, and we look forward to seeing you on so many more of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to dive into some of the questions that we've gotten so far, and it is still open for you to talk about how you can ditch that sheet. So let's start with the first one that came in was, are these examples running on top of Salesforce or directly from a spreadsheet? So good time to make a quick distinction. So historically, Skuid has been very much an API first company. And what we mean by that is that we are leveraging the data, we are leveraging the process, we are leveraging what exists, we are bringing it in. And what our customers are doing are creating these apps that are usable, efficient, clear, and delightful, right? They are using what they already have in their environment to create these experiences that are contextual, as Don said. However, where we're going very shortly is to extend and allow you to store your own data inside of Skuid. So historically and overwhelmingly, what we've been using is predominantly Salesforce as a backend, but in addition, Postgres, RESTful APIs, SQL, it's OData, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that answers that question. Second one is actually, which I kind of just answered, not kind of, I hopefully just answered, which is, do we host the data or do we pull from external databases? So thanks for those questions. Both of those came from the same person. Next one. I'm gonna pop this one over to you, Don, for an answer, which is, how long did it take, right? So when we talk about, so you went through some customer examples.
Yep.
Let's talk about the first customer example that you went through of that global operations and logistics company that everybody on this call knows almost on a daily basis. That sheet was pretty gnarly. How long did it take, and what did that look like, both from a very large organization as well as from a smaller organization? Like how can we talk about getting quick wins, and then what does a larger process look like?
Okay, so I was able to take that gnarly looking sheet and get it up and running into their system, displayed in Skuid in 1-2 week sprint. I know that may sound fast, but in that gnarly sheet, like I mentioned, the pane, a lot of that data was redundant or not really required for their business application. So what I did, I said, like, what do you need to get done? What do you need to get up and running? And yeah, I was able to get a good, solid working version of that sheet in Skuid and CRM within 1-2 week sprint. Again, using the Skuid declarative components, which you saw in that screen. It's drag and drop, configurable. My nickname is Declarative Don, so I like working fast, so I got that in about a 2 week sprint. And so, beginning back to the question on the difference between, say, an enterprise and an SMB. And so with an SMB, I could also turn a sheet like that, again, into an app in about a 2 week sprint, but it's more of a partnership, collaborative process for them. Like, for example, a smaller company may not be as familiar with CRM systems, about related contextual content, how it can benefit them. So I might spend a little more time doing some basic pages and then working with their IT people on the back end. So it may be, again, more of an iterative process where, you know, the enterprises, they know their data, they know their process, they know what needs to happen. I get something up and running in a sprint, and then it's a little more of a wait process while review goes through steering committees, governance councils, IT and InfoSec, and then maybe come back to it in the following sprint.
Got it. So whether you're dealing with embedded and ingrained silos and ways of doing things in a large enterprise, or you're doing things within an SMB, the actual activity of moving from a sheet or any other type of schema-based application like you might find in a generic interface in Salesforce or something like that, to actually having an app that is usable and out there for customers is in the order of a couple of weeks inside of some quick sprints.
Correct. Let me further add to that. And well, I know that sounds fast, and so you know, I come from a waterfall type background, whether it be requirements documents and design documents and, you know, whiteboards and posts, all great stuff. And, you know, both my enterprise and my SMB have some of those processes. But I just say, give me your sheet, and I make my design document, my requirements document for them in Skuid. It's like a live POC, and I find it's easier for me as the architect, because I'm actually doing what it is I say I'm going to do, and then I find that my customers find that easy as well, because they're not looking at a Word doc with screenshots of what they're going to get, but they're looking at a actually working, functioning app.
Yeah, it's kind of active prototyping with data, iterating through both design as well as functional development, really kind of on the fly, just like you showed us there in the demo, where you went into Composer, made a couple of changes, and all you did was refresh the app and you're good to go. Yeah,
that's my life.
So yeah, exactly. And taking a nod towards your nickname of Declarative Don, most if not all of this can happen declaratively without code. There are capabilities in the product as an escape hatch where you can go and do more specific things if you need to. My question, before I get to the other one in here, which is a follow-up to what we've just been talking about, is you've been talking about you doing the work. Obviously, this is kind of we also have the methodology of teaching folks how to fish, so we can walk away and they be entirely capable of running with that. Have you seen that take a long time?
No, not a long time. I come from a program management background. I actually have a humanities degree. So if I can do it, I can teach my customers to do it. So it's very, very easy, very straightforward to learn. So a common scenario is I'll create the version, and then I'll teach the customer how to fish, do some training sessions, show them how to use the declarative environment. But no, it does not take a long period of time. You can, do some basic configuration. You can be a citizen developer.
Perfect. And I'll add to that we have full training, and we have a full active community to support that effort. So final question, and there actually were a couple that I was unable to get to inside of the time that we'll follow up with people directly on. But the one that I want to cover is a little bit of a lower level one, but it speaks to not only the collapsing of the Salesforce or other data models on the back end, but also the ability to edit in a human and contextual way versus a schema way. Right? So how can I edit multiple records at once? Right? Is that something that I can do? Can that cross objects? Is it constrained to the only thing that I'm working on right now? Like, can you take us through that?
Yes. Actually, if I can, maybe I can go back to my demo here and actually show that. Yes, actually, very good question. Because remember I talked about a new comfort zone for my customers, but I still want them to be comfortable with what they've used to. And so one of the top things that they did in their sheets was naturally edit multiple records at once and save them. And so I put in a button for read edit. So when I click that, it toggles between a read and edit mode. So now my sheet is in edit mode. And let's say I'm going to, again, change owner. Let's change that to me. And I'm going to change a stage on a different record to evaluation. And I'm going to change this type from new business to a pilot. And I'm going to change this close date from the 16th to the 31st. So, multiple records, multiple objects, and I click save. It all does it in one time. And so, again, I think that was one of the selling points in getting them to adopt Skuid, is that they could still do one of the main things that they did in Sheets was edit a bunch of fields and click Command Save. So I wanted to give them that feature as well, because I want my customers to be comfortable.
It's almost like adding a usability layer, an interactivity layer on top of the biggest, baddest Salesforce reports you might pull, right? So instead of that being a static output, we hit a button and everything becomes live. And whether it's just the opportunity object, or if it is crossing the opportunity account and contact object, we can make all of that happen inside of a single table, inside of a single UI like that.
That's correct.
Very good, very good. Well, I lied because I have just one more second left, and I'm gonna talk about something about maintenance and technical debt, right? So, what is it's clear that we save some time, that customers save time when they're creating that first app. Do we accelerate or decelerate when it comes to the iterations that happen after that? As well as, if we're talking about declarative, is there a win from a technical debt and maintenance perspective?
Yes, both. And so how do we iterate from there? And so because I'm able to make their apps so fast, what I'm often asked to do is to make a different version of it. One that maybe has larger buttons or has a different type of navigation menu. One might be for user A and user B, so we can do some live A/B testing on that. And so the evolution of the app is progressive over time based upon real user feedback. So that iterative process as well. And with regards to technical debt, again, I try to keep everything declarative, so that all the changes can be made fast, and all uses standard application principles. And so again, we want to move away from having our customers be stuck with a particular type of technology or format, and keep everything very low cost, very, very fast, and avoiding that technical debt.
Perfect. Well, Don, thank you so much for your expertise, for taking us through the demo. Thank you, everybody else, for sticking through to the end here. I couldn't resist asking that last question because I thought it was a really interesting one. And I want to invite everybody on the line and on replay to join us. Start building for free at skuid.com. Come and take a look. There's a sign up link on basically every page. And come see Don again. We'll be diving a little bit deeper into our appetizer series that you can see a shortened URL there to take a look at not only the ones that we've done in the past, but also register for our future events. So On behalf of Don and Rob, I thank everybody for your time and attention today. I hope you found it useful and entertaining. Enjoy the rest of your day, and be safe and sane, or as sane as you were, wherever you are. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.